This summer, I was attending SUNY, like SUNY-wide professional development for online teaching, and I came across this the session that was called SOFLA, Synchronous Online Flipped Learning Approach. And the session was, so I'm essentially just kind of piggybacking on Helene Marshall's work. And this is the Zoom, the link, sorry, the YouTube link to her presentation. So what that is, what she presented was an 8-step approach to using flipped classroom approach for what she called kind of advertised as very truthfully as to all size of classes and on all types of teaching. So I was very intrigued because I've always wanted to try. I got at some point a few years ago, I got a TLC grant to use the flipped classroom approach in face-to-face learning for a very large class. So I spent the summer kind of investigating that. So in essence, what she presented was this 8 kind of, each class would have 8 elements. So students will work during the week between classes on whatever, I would post on Canvas, and then each of our meetings, and my meetings are usually an hour and 15 minutes sessions, will have all these 8 things: pre-work, sign-in activity, whole group application, breakouts, share out, preview and discovery, assignment, instruction, and reflection. So it's a very, like, it seems like to me at first is a very, very packed schedule for that amount of time. So I took all that, I listened to that, and I was kind of like, okay, so how do I ever going to apply all that to like kind of our Zoom synchronous COVID learning type of environment? And so I have to say that I've for better or for worse, I stuck with my idea of doing synchronous online learning this semester. So this is what I've done, and I did it for, I implemented this approach on and off in 3 classes. So my 100 level had 120 students, 225 and 315 it's upper level seminar. So I tried in all of them, and it was, I have to say, it went surprisingly well in all 3. So I'm just gonna go through what I did. The pre-work, so what I would do every week is I started pre-recording very, very short sessions on, essentially, I would have a module on Canvas, and I would also post the first thing on Canvas would be plan for this week, and I would have pre-recording of me telling them what they need to do this week, just kind of one by one. Then once we're all together, what I would love about Zoom is the chat, the chat tool, because I would start by asking them questions, and sometimes these would be like one takeaway from reading, or define X term. Sometimes it would be one fun thing that you did today to kind of to have a more personal conversation. But what I really liked is the kind of the terms or the challenges, because I have a couple of minutes to look at the Zoom as everybody's typing and figuring out, and they don't know what I'm going to ask them to do. So it's actually, I found that it made students more engaged. And as I go and look at that, sometimes if I see that there are discrepancy between what I want them to do, I will point out things. And then in big classes, my TAs also went over the chats later. So then the whole group application, what Helene Marshall is suggested was kind of main teacher-led synchronous piece of instruction. And she was very specific. She said not the lecture, but kind of interaction guided by instructor. And personally, I found that the easiest way for me to do that piece was to actually do a mini lecture, 5-10 minutes of just kind of reiterating what they that they the homework assignment, kind of going through, making sure that they pay attention to what I wanted them to pay attention to. So sometimes they also would ask questions or give examples kind of in the application, but that was the main thing. And then there would be a breakout room, which is great in Zoom, except that when you have 120 students in class, you can't really pre-select groups, I found out. So you have to kind of load it every time or do it completely randomly. So I struggled with that in a big class and in a smaller classes as well, but that kind of like worked out. So for the smaller classes, I would have a jokes activity where every group would do something different, or a couple of groups, like people will do different groups would do different things. For the big class, I found that it was much better to do the same activity, just because it's easy. And I have that 100 level class. They are so new to visual studies, and usually they're also freshmen in college. It just the simpler the better. So then all results, every group would have notes, so something that is submittable on Canvas. So in addition to reporting to the whole class afterwards, they have to, I would ask them to have something tangible that is submitted. And for students who were not in class because of the various circumstances, I've asked them to watch the recording of the class and submit the assignment, that same assignment. So whatever I assigned, the discussion, if this person was not in class, then they would have to do it by themselves and submit it again. Because those are very, very short and very easy, they never take more than 10-15 minutes. The students found them manageable. Okay, so then I would share that out, kind of create discussions of various kinds. And to be honest, sometimes these were better and sometimes they were really kind of led by me, and kind of we would pile along with the students. But essentially, I use some kind of idea of share, help, ask, comment type of thing, where we kind of would try to talk about issues. And then so that was kind of the bulk of the question. Then what Helene recommended is to do preview and discover, and then separately assignment instruction. I find that was way too much. So what I did was kind of to all together. So essentially at that point, usually it's about 15 minutes before before the end of the class, I would start talking about next week, what we're going to do next week or next class. So I explained what is assigned. I always used my screen share and go to Canvas and show them, this is the next module, this is what we're doing in class, these are the things, in addition to then recorded instructions. And also kind of try to generate excitement about, like, okay, so next week we're going to look how Picasso did this and that, or something that would be more kind of exciting, give them something to look forward to, hopefully. And finally, what did I do? So finally, reflection. So in the chat again, 5 minutes before class, I asked them to do 1-2 sentences on like what you learned, or sometimes again I'll throw in a term, or I'll sometimes throw in a very, very direct answer. What do you think about this and that? For large classes, TAs would then go over all the chats and flag for me answers that really didn't make sense or were really kind of like completely off, so I can actually follow up on that. Sometimes we had very, like I put here the kind of the Dorian Gray here, kind of the portrait and the person because sometimes reflections really did not express what I wanted to express, which was also very fun and very interesting.
You have a question now, or how did you get them to actually watch the meeting or whatever they missed and do it in a week? Because I feel my feeling about remote learning and not being able to demand participation and attendance is that, we have the synchronous meeting. I put up, the meeting on Canvas and students don't watch it. So I guess because you tie it with, to an assignment, they have to do it, and then that assignment you weigh towards the grade, or how does it work?
Yeah, so my
Major
participation,
failure this semester, they would not watch anything.
it's an ongoing struggle. But what I did is, because I wanted to try that, for a larger class and 200 level class, I actually made participation worth a lot more than normal. I made it worth 20% of the mark. And and I did not take attendance. I told them very clearly, no attendance. All your participation grade comes from doing those assignments, so keeping up with the assignments.
Yeah.
So they submit an assignment, whether they submit it on they see the deadline. It's very straightforward, and it's a weekly thing. I didn't do it, even though I taught twice a week. I didn't do it twice. I didn't do it for them twice a week. I made it once a week,
Only
and
once.
they were allowed to skip two if something happens. So and then I went, or TAs went through that, and I just marked it as either yes or no type of thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it a try. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, I couldn't even figure out how to do it at the beginning. It took me about 3 or 4 weeks until I figured out how to make Canvas work for me that way.
Yep.
Jennifer had a question in the chat, which is nicely matching the modality. Can you give an example of a question you would have people answer in the chat thread?
What is citizen journalism, for example, from the reading they did? Or we looked at Society of Spectacle. So give me an example of Society and Spectacle that was not mentioned in the reading. And then for that, I would have to wait like 2 or 3 minutes for them to kind of to wrap their brain around, but it would be worth it, because that shows application right away.